I know people are going to hate me for what I'm about to say, but that's part of the game. Listen, this anti-AI movement is destroying music producers. It's destroying music artists. It's destroying the music industry. Not because AI will take over everything and take jobs. There were never such things as jobs. If you're a music producer, what job could you apply for on Indeed? You're living in a fantasy world, and I have to wake the people up because if I don't say anything now, this propaganda will get to you guys' head. This narrative will get to you guys' head. You guys have to understand the music industry is more demonic than you think. And by demonic, I mean that they are trying to control minds against their will. So the way that the devil works, okay, let me teach you guys something real quick. The way a demon works and gets power over somebody is they ask for permission. Okay, you have to comply to a demon for it to take root over your unconscious mind. In other words, the definition of free will means to do whatever you want, right? So you can't have true free will if somebody else is controlling what you want. You can't have the definition of free will. So to have the definition of free will, it means nobody can coerce you, change you, unless you allow them to modulate you. I want to say this one more time for the people in the back. This is not a scripted video. This is just me being passionate because I see so many messages acting as if AI music is the devil, and people who use AI music just love the result and not the process and all this language. I've been teaching 1 million producers around the world over 14 years, okay? Some have gone to work with Drake, Kanye West, Post Malone, Ariana Grande, French Montana, Young Thug, Polo G, Trippie Redd, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, Glorilla. We have 3 confirmed Grammy winners, multi-platinum plaque winning producers, and I've helped some of the top producers in this industry, okay? The point here I'm trying to make is that I've seen people from absolute beginnings, people who knew nothing about music, okay, go from 0 to 1. I've seen people at the level 1 go to level 2. I've seen people at level 9 go to level 10. I've seen all the stuff in between, and I'm sure there's levels I haven't seen before. And I can tell you guys that AI music is just people trying to discover how to get into music. They're going from 0 to 1. This is their thing that sparks them from going 0 to 1. Maybe FL Studio wasn't marketed well. It looked too confusing. Just like the Suno CEO said, which people are taking his language way out of context. And one thing I hate is somebody parading as their sheep, and they're just a lying wolf trying to get you to galvanize you behind your emotions and your passion to attack something. And they're just a wolf in sheep's clothing. That's one thing I hate. It's like me as a shepherd. If I'm here to serve God, for example, here's 3 things you guys need to understand. You're here to show love, okay? Be filled with the spirit of truth and complete your assignment. Showing love. Does that sound like you should hate somebody who's prompted in music because they love music? They just don't know how to exactly make it or, have the right tool to make that music? How's that showing love? You're just sowing hate into your community, dividing a community. Look up the things God hates. Let me look up a list real quick. All right, I'm reading from a list, rough list of things God detests, hates, abhors, okay? Haughty eyes, an attitude of pride, arrogance. Arrogance means to overvalue oneself, meaning you cannot do what you say you can do. Looking down on others, acting as if you can actually do something above them, being superior. A lying tongue. Boy, do we see this a lot in this AI music narrative. A lot of lies. For example, spinning the CEO of Suno's language. He did not say people hate to make music. He said it's frustrating for people to make music. Therefore, they go to Suno. And people are twisting his words way out of it. And let me see if I can find a clip. It says hands that shed innocent blood. In other words, wolves going after sheep. That's something God hates, okay, according to your Bible. A heart that devises wicked schemes. In other words, a deceiver. How did the snake convince Eve to eat the apple, and Eve convinced Adam to eat the apple in the Garden of Eden? The snake used deception, okay, to act as if there would be a different result from her taking that action. He deceived Eve, okay? He got permission from Eve because he deceived her on a desired outcome. How's there not deception in the music industry right now? People who are hopping in the music industry, buying all these loop kits, buying all these drum kits with the promise that if they just send in their loops, to this giveaway, you'll have a chance to work with Lil Baby. It's like, bro, that is literally deception. You are buying lottery tickets, and we need to be honest, because if we don't get to the root of everybody's motives and intent behind this thing, then we will never understand why this AI music threat doesn't make any sense. Okay? So a heart that devises wicked schemes. Again, like I said, the snake deceived or got Eve to comply. That's when she allowed the demon to control her intent or her will. Adam, he gave his wife permission because when you have a relationship, you just trust the other person, correct? That means you give them keys to your metaphorical house, your subconscious house, okay? You give them keys, automatic permissions. When you guys grow teams and businesses, you'll understand that not everybody has the same permissions. I'm not going to give the janitor, no shade to janitors. I'm just using this as a role. I'm not going to give a janitor the key to the vault. Like, I'm going to give my CFO the key to the vault, my CEO the key to the vault. Why would I give the janitor the key to the vault? And most of us are surrounding ourselves with people, and we're handing out keys. You take this key, you take this key. Content creator, you take that key. You take that key. Music producer on Reddit, who I read an opinion about, handing out keys, and you're allowing people to influence your subconscious mind. And that's when you are literally complying to demons. Okay. I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. You are complying to a demon, a low frequency being, to modulate your oscillator. If I have to make this about music. Okay. Now, the fifth thing God hates: feet that are quick to rush into evil. Like I said, it's all about intent. A false witness who pours out lies. Boy, have I seen that with this Suno interview. People twisting lies and trying to demonize other content creators for even talking about AI music. Understand, guys, I'm an educator. It is my job to keep people on the forefront of what's happening. My job is to educate people. I did not say, guys, go right now and sign up to Suno and make sure you guys do the best job. I didn't. Like, even if I did, so what? If I like Suno, I'm going to talk about Suno. If I like Google Area 3 Pro, I'm going to talk about it. If I like Udio, I'm going to talk about it. If I like, what's the other one? Producer something with Google's Producer AI. I'm going to talk about whatever I like. You guys, not you guys. I'm saying that people who think they control this channel, you don't control this channel. You know who controls this channel? The Lord controls this channel, not you. You have zero control over my free will. Okay. So let's continue. A false witness who pours out lies. And lastly, a person who stirs up conflict in the community, spreading strife, gossip, or division among the people. How is anti-AI galvanizing people? How is saying Suno's the devil galvanizing people who love music? It's just dividing people. So you are an agent of the devil. The people who are sent here to divide people who love music, love making music, love listening to music. You are literally sent by a demon. Understand, you are possessed. You have no control over your thought. You are being possessed. The only way to take back that control is to reject the compliance that you gave that demon. Okay. And the demon can be anything. It could be sugar. It could be the influence of sugar. It could be the influence of a narrative like anti-AI. Okay. You guys need to understand that this goes way deeper. And you guys have to understand this even deeper is the music industry. Sony, Warner, Universal. You think they didn't invest in propaganda to be anti-AI music? Imagine this. Imagine you had a catalog. I'm trying to think of a metaphor. Imagine you had land. You know how they say land is so precious because you can't make any more? Okay, well, imagine you had 1,000 acres and you're just banking off the 1,000 acres. People need it for farming. People need it to, build housing. People need it to, you have an amusement park. Okay, there's a million ways you can monetize land. Okay. So you're milking the game. You're like, man, I own all this land. Let me go buy some more land from this dumb artist who's giving me their land in exchange for a couple $100. So now I own the land. I can make as much money as I want. Let me buy this other 2,000 acres from this stupid person who doesn't know how to control their land. Let me buy, like, they're just buying up land, right? And here's the, piece that people can't comprehend is their only way of making money is to exploit the land. Exploit's not a negative word. It just means to monetize an asset that you have and extract value. Okay. Their job is to exploit a music catalog, whether that means put the music in video games, put it into movies, play it at live festivals, have the artist do a tour and take proceeds from that. However they can figure out ways to monetize that music, streaming. Okay. But here's what you guys may not understand is when they saw the threat of AI music, they go, wow, somebody can print land. You can 3D print a house. You could 3D print grass. And they started getting up in arms because they're in the game of supply and demand. As long as they control all the supply, it doesn't matter if demand's down here or demand's up here. They control all the supply. Okay. They're trying to monopolize the board, meaning they own all the land on the monopoly board. Okay. So it doesn't matter where a player lands. Sorry, I had to get my family. They just came back. So it doesn't matter how much they own on the monopoly board or how much the asset makes. They control it. And that's the thing. People think they're getting, these publishing checks and that is just such a win. Imagine this. Imagine your business makes $1,000 a month and it makes $12,000 a year. And you sell your catalog for, let's say 2x multiple. So $24,000. You think you came up, okay, because you have a check for $24,000. You don't understand that most deals mean you owe that money back, meaning you're selling your future income. Okay. So yeah, you're making $1,000 now with your music. And let's say you get a publishing deal, like I said, for 2x multiple, which is rare. I'm just putting a number out there. Okay. That means they give you a check for $24,000. You think you're up, right? Then you realize in the future, oh, you can't collect anymore. You have somebody collecting on behalf of your name for however many years, 10 years, 5 years, 20 years, or until a certain amount is earned back, because they're going to get their money back. So is it prudent to sell your future income? If you think your music's going up, why would you sell your future income? Okay, I made the mistake when I was, 18 or so. I signed with this company called a multi-channel network on YouTube. I think it was the early days of monetization. So you couldn't even get monetized unless it was through an MCN. But long story short, they would take 20%. I think it was 20 or 40%. I think it was 20%. They would take 20% of my YouTube income. You guys want to know what they offered? $75 worth of services I could have paid by myself separately, but I gave them 20% of a check. Let's imagine the YouTube check is $10,000. You are giving a company $2,000 a month, okay? 20% a month for getting something that's literally $75 a month. Does that sound like a fair trade, or does it sound like you just got pimped? So when people come to you guys, you think the music industry is glorious. They're a bank, okay? And their number one thing is to control the supply. Like I said, they're in the game of supply and demand. It doesn't matter how much supply, as long as they control the supply. And that's why they went after a Suno, a UDO. It wasn't about ethics. If it was all about ethics, why wouldn't they destroy it? If it was so evil, why wouldn't they just bomb it and just leave? No, it's not about evil. It's about them wanting control of the supply. Okay. They want to control the 3D printer on the land. Okay. That's the gist. So they created, in my opinion, they created a narrative, okay, to get you guys super passionate to fight on their behalf. Okay. That means they can create, let me just show you guys how evil and twisted this industry is. They can create fake Reddit accounts that look real. They make all these posts to make it look like the person was a real person. And then they post the real post, which is, they start sowing hate into the community, okay, as an agent on behalf of the music industry. Now, this is the part that people can't comprehend because they're still thinking 2D. We're talking about 3D, 4D type of moves, okay? They're not going to obviously come out and say Sony, Warner, and Universal are anti-AI. They're going to use little people to sow negativity into the community to cause divide so that they can rile up the community to then act like the community voted for them to come in as the savior. Does that make sense? So, for example, here's a demonic path they could take. For example, create a fake Reddit account, and then they'll go on all these other communities to make it look like a real account. And then they'll start making posts about how Suno steals from artists, how Suno's unethical. And I'm using Suno because this is the main thing people talk about. How Suno is, I'm trying to think of another thing people could even talk about, stealing jobs from artists, right? They make all these posts and they get all these up likes, and people think that it's, a real person behind this. But all they're doing is sowing a narrative to get people riled up because they tap into your emotions. You know why most people are geared up about this AI thing? If you really think about it, I just saw a video with Adam Neely talking about Berkeley teaching AI music or something like that. So my thing is, if you're a jazz musician, Adam Neely, you're a jazz musician. You're one of the best in the world. Jazz is the hardest genre I've ever seen created. Okay. So if you're a jazz musician and you can outplay anybody on the planet, why are you afraid of AI music? How does that even make sense? How does the world's top genre musician in the world have find threatening a computer program? How does that make any sense? Does anybody sit to ask that question? Let me ask this again. Adam Neely, you're a jazz musician, one of the greatest in the world. How are you threatened by anybody lesser skilled than you? Does that make any sense? That doesn't make sense, right? So if that is the fundamental argument against AI music, is that it's just taking jobs and all this type of stuff, why wouldn't your skill supersede the AI music if you're so much better than the AI music? Nobody has that answer, okay? This is because the narrative being pushed, okay, to be anti-Suno is created by the record labels, Universal, Sony, Warner, because if they can tell all of the artists to demonize this AI music, the artists won't use the AI generators to generate music against the catalog of Sony, Universal, Warner, which means they can now slow down the supply that they cannot control. That is the game, people. Let me say it slower because I know people didn't catch what I just said. Let me just re-say what I just said. Sony, Universal, Warner have a field. They say this person's 3D printing field over there, that's not fair. So they say, how do I get people riled up to create a mob with pitchforks so that they go take that person's land and then slow down the land development? Okay, so now they're not 3D printing land. We're going to hold off until we can control the 3D printer. And then we're going to allow these people to act like they're 3D printing. But really, we just control the 3D printers now. Suno, Udio, and what was the other one? I forgot the other platform they went after. That's the game. They want you to slow down the companies until they control them. Not for your good. You think Sony, Universal, and Warner are doing it for your good? No, they're doing this because they have the leverage now. When you're a bank, it's hard to explain all these angles because this requires a little bit of a business experience. But when you're a business and your employee just think he's the hot stuff, like your business doesn't run without him, then you let him know he can be replaced. That's essentially what the music industry is doing. They are letting the artists know, you think it's popping now, but we can replace you with algorithm number 1, 2, and 3. Okay. And then they can control the supply because they don't need humans who cause so much chaos in the traditional music industry. There's a lot behind what I just said, but I have to simplify it for this video. That's the 3D game. Okay. Let me say it one more time for the people in the back. The wolves, aka the demons, aka the people who are trying to manipulate you against your free will of the music industry, the top 3, okay, who want to control the monopoly board. They sowed a narrative into the community, this anti-AI narrative. The narrative's job was to get you all riled up and passionate about something that isn't even a threat, okay, so that you can demonize it so that it would slow down the supply against their catalog until they controlled the supply maker, which is the AI generators Suno and Udio. Once they control those things, you don't hear this whole, campaign of anti-AI anymore because now they're trying to pitch their own AI through Spotify. You guys saw the news about Spotify and the AI remixes. Now they're trying to create walled gardens with Udio and all types of stuff. They're experimenting with the business models right now. So now they're not talking. What happened to this huge anti-AI wave? It's because it was fabricated. It was propaganda to get you guys to rile up against a threat that didn't even exist. Okay, and I can break that down in a second, just so they can control it and have an excuse to control it. Because again, all these big companies, they're trying to fight, I forget, antitrust laws. So if they appear too big, it's a bad thing. So what they try to do is they get the people on their side and they make it seem like they're just the savior, and they'll take the L by taking over these taking over these companies. But if they were to go in aggressively and take over Suno and Udio, they would just look like an enemy, and they would make their signed artists revolt against their own company. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? If Warner, Sony, and Universal, like initially when they had the thought, went straight after Suno and Udio aggressively, they would look like they didn't care about artists. So they sowed the propaganda into the field to make all these artists believe there's this anti-AI movement, so that by the time they actually did what they wanted to do, which is take over the control over the supply, it didn't look like they were doing it against artists. It looked like they were doing it for artists. Hopefully I'm making sense with what I'm saying. That's how demons work. They get you to comply first. They take over your thoughts. You guys don't even have your own thoughts about this. In ethics, we learned something very principle in college, is that everything technically is a spectrum. There's no on and off. There's an in between. There's a big gray scale from white to black. There's a very big gray scale. And a lot of people are trying to tell us to be black and white about AI music. Either you use it or you don't use it. Or some people are in the middle where it's like, okay, I could use it for my stem splitter, but I won't use it to generate music. And if we're splitting hairs like that, then we need to go all the way down to the core level. Okay, we need to talk about how apps are developed. You guys think people are sitting there coding by hand? They're using generative coding through Visual Code, which I showed you guys, through Cursor, through Copilot. They're using generative code that goes into the apps that you guys use. Some apps are more upfront that use machine learning. For example, I have an AI. Let me show you guys my tool. All right, real quick, let me show you guys a tool I created leveraging AI. So initially this started off by trying to clean up AI music, and then it turned into a whole different mastering beast. So basically this is months and months of just crystallized thought about mastering. So I said, how to make it super simple. So basically you click one button when you listen to the loudest portion of your song, click this button. It will listen to your song. And what it's doing right now is setting what's called the headroom. So headroom is like turning a knob up and down, or a fader up and down. And then it goes through all these different algorithms. Depending on your song's content, it figures out which knobs that I've created. These are macros that control all the other knobs. And it says which knobs need to be turned, okay? So now I'm gonna turn the volume back up so you guys can hear. So here's before. And mind you, this is in a matter of 5 to 8 seconds. Here's after. before? Just listen to the energy change. Here's after. Night and day difference. Okay, guys. Now, is that AI music because you ran through a system of algorithms and logic of if then and, you know, all these complex sequences of conditions? Is that AI music now? Is it AI music if, let me show you guys something else too. Now, this next point is a little complex, so I don't expect everybody to understand this point, but this is an IDE where people create code for the apps that we use as music producers. And when you guys say you don't use generative AI, I go, do you understand that the apps you use, chances are they use generative code? Okay, so what's better, what's worse, generative code or generative AI music, which uses the same principles of creating probability to create the next token? So for example, I can type in the word list here, which is a variable, and then I can say equals, and it, you guys can see on my screen, if you guys zoom in, it pre-fills out the list for me. I didn't create that content. It's based on probability. It's guessing what I would like to do. So I could take this even further. Let's say, you know, dictionary, and then I say equals. Sorry, it's people moving outside. Hold on. All right, sorry, it was loud outside. So let's type in dictionary equals, and then we're gonna put these curly brackets, and I could just hit the tab key, and it enters data for me. That's generative code. So you're telling me the plugin, you think just because it doesn't say machine learning or it doesn't say this thing generates songs, you guys think it's not full of generated code? So how is it worse to generate music, okay, and not worse to generate code underneath the hood? This is why I have such a deeper understanding about this. And like I said, guys, I can make a whole video about the hypocrisy that we have as music producers who are anti-AI, because like I said, what's the difference between me dragging in MIDI that I'd had zero intent behind into a session and calling that my composition when I didn't do anything? We literally did an example with Cashmere loops in his new pack, Cashmere Sounds of Cashmere Volume 5. I didn't even listen to his loops because I already knew they're fire because they're from Cashmere. He sent them to me. So I dragged them, you know, the Afro drum loop, and then I dragged the guitar loop. I said that all I got to do is just change the BPM to make these match. Without even listening to it, it came out dope. It sounded like a Drake song. So I said, what's the difference in dragging in splice loops, okay, with zero intent? Okay, I'm talking about people just literally dragging and dropping. Okay, even if you arrange it, you could do the same thing with AI music. You can arrange it. So what separates AI music from, okay, somebody who's just dragging and splice loops? To me, there is no difference because it lacks intent. If that is, actually, I think the Suno music most of the time has more intent behind it because either somebody's feeding it lyrics or it's giving it a vibe and it's trying to craft out the sound, which I did in the last video. I don't have time to do it in this video. I just want you guys to open up your mind and understand that we are being manipulated as a community. Anybody causing division in the community is of the devil. That is the definition of what God hates, is somebody dividing a community. And you guys see it with this anti-AI rhetoric. How are you going to tell somebody they can't generate a song on a website using a tool to make a song? Who are you to tell somebody they can't do that? And let's be honest, here's the last point I forgot to make. I said, okay, Adam Neely's one of the top, you know, jazz people in the world. Okay. We get he's skilled. We get he went to, you know, I think he said he went to Berkeley, if I'm not mistaken. So what is his concern about AI music? Why make a video about AI music? If you hate AI music, why are you making a video about it constantly? And then on top of this, what's the threat? Like, what is the AI music going to do? It's like, if you're the best person in the world, why would anybody go to anybody else that's not you if you're the best person in the world? What's the threat? So then I came to realize people are threatened based on the attention economy. Their number one argument against AI music is that it takes away the royalty stream from real artists, right? So then that makes this not about music at all. It makes this about the business. And let me prepare you guys. In this business world, there are factors you cannot control. I'm talking about Google literally, okay, in a matter of 2 years, transformed 60% of search from traditional search over to AI search, meaning when you type in how to make Drake type beat, it's not going to like give you a video like it used to. It may give you a video, but it will give you an AI overview now. And it will give you snippets of videos where you can go straight to a specific point in the video. Gone are the days of traditional search. And people are going to be using agentic stuff more and more and more, meaning like Codex, Claude Code, Anti-Gravity from Google. Okay, they're going to be using these platforms. They're not even going to go to a browser anymore. The agentic AI is going to search for them. Okay. The world of search is literally changing. 2 trillion searches in 2 years got converted over to AI searches. I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. That's I forgot the number, 8.5 billion searches a day being converted. Okay. And there's only 30% left of traditional search. So I hope you guys can comprehend what I'm saying to you guys. And the reality is, me as a business person, we have to adapt to these changes. We don't control Google. We don't control the internet. We don't control people's demand. All we control is the thing that we create and the ability to supply the thing for the demand. That's all you control. You could try to influence people, but like I said, if they don't comply or agree to your message, you don't have control over somebody else's free will. You can't force somebody to want your thing. Okay. So long story short is this: all you control is the product and the supply of the product that you put out. Okay. And you could try to persuade people, okay, based on, leveraging marketing messages that look like they're in the self-interest of the actual buyer. That's what good marketing is about. It's not about lying to manipulate people into accepting messages that are of the devil, like I said. Okay. So moving forward, guys, you have to wake up. The real world has competition. The real world fights for traffic. The real world, there's no trophies for everybody. If you put up your stuff on Spotify today, you're going to be competing against AI music, human music, signed artists who have a budget way bigger than any money you'll ever make from music. That's not a fair game. So now we're complaining about the fairness of a game. Like, it's never been fair. So my point is, I guess because I'm a business owner, I've had a little bit more battle experience, but I just want to leave you guys off on a message to say that in the world of business, okay, you can't just swipe your competition away. You guys think that AI is just going to stop. It's not going to stop. No matter how much legislation you guys have, there's something called the open source community. Okay, it's a decentralized movement. There's no one place where you could just stop AI from happening. So just fighting and campaigning and doing all this riling up for what? Remember, that is a propaganda machine to get you guys to basically support Sony, Warner, and Universal. They come out as the heroes. That's all you're doing, is fueling up your competition, which is the thing you think AI is your competition. But in reality, you're fueling up the real competition, Sony, Warner, and Universal. So hopefully I've added enough logic pieces to where you guys can make up your own mind behind this and just understand that business is war, people. Like, it's never been this pat yourself on the back type of game, bro. It's literally economic warfare. And I think people are starting to realize, wow, I have to actually be good at business to be good at music. Yes, it's the music business. It's not, hey, everybody gets a fair chance to upload their creative ideas and the more creativity earns more money. It's never been that way. And it's like people are living in a fantasy land. And then on top of this, they get these messages like anti-AI, which is just riling them up to be more in their delusional fantasy land. So maybe I'll make a different video about how to actually survive this AI wave. But I've done plenty of them. So if you guys just scroll on my channel, you guys will find videos where I talk about how to basically win against this wave. But anyway, I'll end this video. It's been 30 minutes here. I'm Game from BusyWorksBeats.com. Peace out, guys.